Welcome to your first virtual Monday in geometry. So first things first, I need you to rename the document with your last name in front. So what I mean by that is up in the top corner, you're going to see that it says 0-45 geometry virtual notes. I need you to edit that, and in front of all of this, just write your last name. So first things first. So 0-4 is algebraic expressions and 0-5 is linear equations. Both of them are super similar, sorry about that, to each other. The first thing before we do anything else, you can write these on paper and then upload a picture to the file, to this Google Doc, and then turn it in that way. You can use the table that I've given you. You can do bullet points, you can write paragraphs. I don't care what you do as long as you're taking notes, following along. If the video pauses, that means that there's probably a question in the video. So you're going to want to go and answer the question in the video. So that being said, we are going to get started. So first things first is order of operations. So step one in order of operations, you're used to seeing a P. I'm going to use a G. So P is parentheses. It's a kind of grouping, which is G, grouping. So anytime you see brackets, parentheses, anything that looks like it's making it into a group, you're going to use this. So this would be grouping. I'm going to use grouping. P stands for parentheses. Step two is going to be your exponents or your powers. So it's going to be that little number. So grouping, just for an example, is your parentheses or your brackets. E for exponents, you're going to have exponents. Those are your little numbers. So if I have something like a to the second, that 2 is an exponent. Next, we have multiplication and division. So multiplying or divide. Remember, you're always working from left to right. It does not matter which one comes first. If division comes first, you work with division. It's just like you read. So if you come to division before you come to multiplication, you would do a division first or vice versa. Always do whatever comes first from left to right. And I'm going to say that 5 more times. Not really, but whatever comes first, left to right, is what you do first. And that also goes with adding or subtracting. So add or subtract. And again, you're working from left to right. It doesn't matter if subtracting is coming first and then adding. You're still going to do whatever comes first from left to right in those two categories. So, just going to go over an example of algebraic expressions. So, we're going to do 2, and then I'll give you 1 at the end for you to try on your own. So the first one that I'm going to give you is that, oops, sorry, I was trying to make it smaller and I did not do that at all. Okay, so the first one I'm going to give you is x, and this is in 0-4 right now, just to let you know. So x minus 5 plus y. If x is equal to 15 and y is equal to -7. So the first thing that we're doing is we're looking and saying, okay, what do I know about my variables? So I have an x and a y, and I'm told that x is 15, so I'm going to take that 15 and plug it in for x. 5 I'm not going to do anything with right now, and I'm told that y is equal to -7, so I'm going to plug in here a -7. I always put whatever I plug in parentheses. I would get in the habit of doing that. It'll help you kind of flow along, especially right now. Like if I didn't have that parenthesis there, I would have a plus minus. So that just kind of helps me keep things together and make it look a little better. So I don't have any extra symbols between my 15 and my 5, so I'm just going to go ahead and do 15 minus 5 right now. I've only got adding and subtracting in here, and remember, we always do whatever comes first from left to right. So 15 minus 5 is 10. I then have plus negative 7. So if I'm adding a negative, I'm really subtracting, and I hope that you all caught on to that. So I'm really subtracting 7 from 10. So 10 minus 7 then would give me an answer of 3. Hopefully you all felt kind of okay with that. We are going to do another one that's just a little bit different, and then I am going to give you one that's a fraction as the one you try on your own. I believe in all of you. I'm not looking for you to get the answer 100% correct all the time. I just want to see what you understand and where we need to go as a class. Sometimes to get better, we have to fail, which is okay. We're never going to succeed or get further than where we are if we don't get knocked down a few times. So the next question that we're going to do is I'm going to have 3, and then the absolute value of a minus b plus 2, the absolute value of c minus 5. And I am going to say that a is equal to negative 2, b is equal to negative 4, and c is equal to 3. So there's a few things that you need to know about absolute values if you don't remember. I'm hoping that you remember. I'm hoping you've seen these before, but in case you haven't, that's okay. So the absolute value is those lines. So those lines mean absolute value. They mean whatever is inside them is positive. For example, if I have negative 7, the absolute value of negative 7, that just means 7, or the absolute value of 7 is equal to 7. So no matter if I have a negative number, if I take it out of the absolute value signs, it means it's a positive number. If I already have a positive number, it's still positive. It's always positive. And then finally, they are considered a grouping symbol. So the first thing that I did last time, and I'll write down some steps because I know some people really enjoy steps, which is just fine. So the first thing is wherever I have a variable that I know the number, I'm going to plug it in. So if I have a known value for a variable, so I'm going to write it as plug in or replace all known values. So I know that A is equal to negative 2. I know that B is equal to negative 4. And I'm going to zoom in here a little bit so that way I can. Okay, so I know that A is equal to negative 2. And remember, I'm going to put these in parentheses. You don't have to. It just helps me to keep everything straight. I know that B is equal to negative 4. I know that that is in absolute value signs, and there's a 3 out in front. And then I know that C is 3. Okay, so if I'm looking at PEMDAS, I'm going to follow the PEMDAS rules. So that's my second step, is follow PEMDAS to solve. So follow the order of operations to solve. So once I'm done, I'm just going to follow these order of operations to be able to solve my problems. Okay, so if I'm given a problem like this, plug in and replace all the known values and then follow your order of operations to solve the problem. So first thing in the order of operations is your parentheses or grouping. I just told you that absolute value signs are a grouping symbol. So I'm going to do whatever is inside those absolute value signs So in these two places here first, and then I'll worry about the rest. So inside my absolute value sign in the first one, I've got -2 minus -4. So I have something that is minus a negative. Hopefully all of you could tell me that means I'm just adding. So I'm adding -2 plus 4. And -2 plus 4 would give me a positive 2. So I'm going to leave it there for a second. The next thing that I have on the other side is 3 minus 5. So if I'm doing 3 minus 5, you should all be able to tell me that that is 2. So I'm just going to drop everything down so we're all on the same line. Okay. Once I'm here, remember that anything inside that absolute value sign is positive. So since this first one is already a positive 2, when I take it out, it's still a positive 2. And forgot to change back to my pen. It's still a positive 2 when I take it out. So now I have 3 parentheses 2. Hopefully all of you remember that if I have a number and then a parenthesis, it just means that I'm multiplying. So 3 times 2 is 6. And that was on the furthest left side. I don't have any exponents. Remember, I'm working left to right, multiplying or dividing. Multiplying was the first thing I came to, so that's why I could do that now. Then this second absolute value sign, I've got a -2. Remember, if I'm taking anything out of the absolute value signs, it's always positive. So that becomes a positive 2. So now I have 2 times 2 is 4. So 6 plus 4 is going to be 10. And that would be your final answer. I will post a blank, like not a blank copy, but I will post this page to the Google Classroom so that way you're able to find them and see it if you would like, or if you need to look at it to get a refresher, or if you need to just go back and get some notes. Okay, so the next thing is going to be the problem that I give you, but I'm not going to help you with, okay? So your problem is going to be, zoom in a little bit here, 2d minus a all over b. A is going to be equal to 2. B is going to be equal to -3. And D is going to be equal to 4. So go ahead and solve this one. Put in your answer. Remember, I'm not grading you based on if you're correct or not. Now, your answer has to make sense, but I'm looking that you tried and that you're sort of getting the steps. Maybe you've gotten the steps. Maybe you are still struggling, but that's okay. I just want you to try and show me what you can do. So go ahead and solve this problem, and then we're going to move on to the next part of this, which is the linear equations. So linear equations, which is 0-5, we are going to be doing 2 examples again, and then I'll give you one that you have to do on your own, just like we did the last time. So the first one that I'm going to give you, hopefully it's just a straightforward one, and hopefully it doesn't mess you up too much. We are going to do 3 over 5x is equal to -8. So I chose one that might look a little bit scary because I'd rather do a scary one with you and then you go and do it and be like, oh, we already did one like that. I know it. I know how to do this. This is easy. I want you to succeed. I don't want to throw something at you and you're like, dang, I wish you'd gone over something like that. I know I did in the last one, but I know that you're good enough to figure out how to answer that problem. So we've got 3 over 5x minus 8. Whenever we see a problem like this, we're always trying to solve for the variable, or it'll say solve for the equation, or solve for the variable, solve for x. We're trying to solve for x. So in this particular case, we're not told what x is. We're trying to find what x is. Most of the time, you'll be doing this if you only are given one variable in an equation. So when you first look at this, my first thought, there's multiple ways of doing this, but I'm going to do this way. If you know another way, that's fine too. My first thought is I do not want this denominator. I need to get that out. So if I'm thinking in a denominator, that means I'm in a fraction. I've got the numerator and denominator. So I need to get that denominator out. Hopefully you remember what to do here, but if not, that's okay. So to get a denominator out, to move it to another side, I'm going to multiply by whatever that denominator is. So I'm going to multiply by 5 on either side. Because whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. Because remember, if I have a fraction and I've got a 5 in the numerator, my 5's now cancel. So I'm left with 3x on this side. And I've got negative 8 times 5 on the other side, which would be giving me negative, sorry, my brain is not keeping up with me today. 40. Hopefully you got that a lot faster than I did, but I'm writing and brain totally was like, wait, how do I multiply by 5? Okay, next. If I'm doing something with multiplication, to undo multiplication, I'm going to divide. So I'm going to divide by 3 on either side, which would mean that my x is equal to negative 40 over 3. This can't be simplified. If it could be, I would be telling you to simplify it. It can't be. That's just our final answer. So just as a rule of thumb, if you're trying to solve for something, use PEMDAS almost against itself. Work backwards. So if I'm giving you equation, we'll do another one, and then you'll have one to do on your own. You're going to be working backwards. So basically, if multiplication or division comes first, then do your multiplication and division first, and do the parentheses last. Same, so on and so forth. So basically, work through PEMDAS to solve these. Work through PEMDAS backwards. If you just need a little bit of reminder, hopefully you know this. Multiplication is opposite of dividing, and vice versa. So I'll draw an arrow, kind of goes either way. Division is the opposite of multiplication. Adding is the opposite of subtracting. If you need another one, I'll give it to you later, but those are the two main ones that you need to know. So the other way you could have solved this, just so for future reference, because I also want to give you a vocab term here in case that you don't remember it. So again, my original equation is 3 over 5x equals negative 8. The other thing that I could have done is I could have multiplied either side by the reciprocal. If you don't remember what reciprocal is, it's the fraction flipped on itself. Wow. So it would be 5 over 3, because now I've got the 5 in the numerator and in the denominator, and they cancel each other out. And I've got the 3 in the numerator and denominator, so they cancel each other out. Remember, when I'm multiplying fractions, I'm multiplying straight across. So my negative 8 is technically over 1. So I'm just going to multiply straight across. And that again would give me that x is equal to negative 40 over 3. Either way works. I don't care which way you use. I just wanted to let you know that there was a second way. Make sure we throw that term reciprocal in there. If you don't remember that term, write it down. It is important. Reciprocal of a fraction is just flipping it on itself. So taking the numerator and putting it in the denominator and vice versa. Okay, so the second one we are going to go through is 3, parentheses, x minus 5 equals 13. All right, so the first thing that I come to here, remember we're working through PEMDAS backwards, so I'm going to start in finding if I have any multiplication or division that happens first. In this case, I do have multiplication. Remember, if I have a number butting up against a set of parentheses, that means I'm multiplying. So I'm going to divide that 3 off before I do anything else. Now I can't do anything with 13 divided by 3, so it's just going to stay like that. So I'm going to have x minus 5 equals 13 over 3. I've gotten that 3 off, so now I'm just left with that. The next thing that I'm going to do is these parentheses really don't matter anymore. I don't have anything on the outside of them to say I'm subtracting something else or I'm adding something else, whatever it may be. So I'm just going to go ahead and drop those parentheses. Next, I have a subtracted 5, but I need to do the opposite so that it goes on the other side. So I'll add instead. So then I'm going to be left with 13 over 3 plus 5. So there is another way to do this. I would accept this answer. This answer is technically correct. The other way that you can do this is you could use the distribution law. You are going to get 2 different answers. They mean the same thing. They're just written in a different format. And I can show you that they mean the same thing in a second. But what's going to happen is I have 3x minus 5 equals 13. The other thing that I could have done was I could have distributed that 3 in first, which would have given me 3x minus 15 is equal to 13. Next, I'm going to add my 15 because I'm trying to isolate the x by itself. And adding that 15 would give me 28. And then finally, remember the opposite of multiplication is division. So I'm going to divide by 3. 28 does not go into 3, so this is simplified. Notice I get 28 over 3 this time instead of 13 over 3 plus 5. Just really quick, as a reminder, write my 3 there. As a reminder, that means the same thing. If I have 13 over 3 plus 5, I need to get the same denominator. Technically, the 5 is over 1. I'm just going to multiply that second fraction by 3. So I've got 13 plus 15 all over 3, which is the same thing as 28 over 3. So you get the same answer either way. One's just written differently. I would accept either one because they are both correct. All right, so I am going to give you one more problem to do on your own, just for some extra practice. And I'm going to give you 7 over 4 x minus 2 is equal to negative 5. I have full faith in you. I know that you can do this problem. I am very confident in it. Again, I will post a PDF of these notes so that way you have them, that you can look at them outside of just the sub puzzle. So have a great day. Make sure that you turn in your notes before you log off.